Two campaigns, two stories. One celebrates heritage, the other courts controversy. This is the fashion war no one expected. When does marketing become a movement? And when does it cross the line? So to truly understand how we got to this point, we first have to look at both campaigns. Now, when it comes to Ralph Lauren Oak Bluffs, this drop occurred in late July 2025, inspired by the Black vacation enclave of Oak Bluffs, Martha's Vineyard, long considered a haven for African American families. Designed in collaboration with Spelman and Morehouse alumni, this collection and campaign was integrated with a short documentary film called A Portrait of the American Dream, which dove deeper into the stories and the history of Oak Bluffs, Martha's Vineyard. Now, with the American Eagle Sydney Sweeney campaign, this was released just days after, making the contrast even sharper between these two campaigns. American Eagle dropped the controversial tagline,
Sydney Sweeney has her jeans,
in billboards, social, and TikTok optimized ad formats. Now, when it comes to the Ralph Lauren Oak Bluffs campaign, they decided to opt for rich, natural lighting. They also went with lush summer colors, rich, vibrant materials that looked and felt lived in, and kind of a vintage wardrobe aesthetic to really hit home the Oak Bluffs legacy. Now, in high contrast, we have the American Eagle campaign, and with this one, they featured a very minimalist set with high contrast lighting, stark studio environments with just basically the backdrop, Sydney Sweeney, her physicality, and a stripped back denim approach. Now, when it comes to the creative strategy behind these two campaigns, again, they are polar opposites. When it comes to Ralph Lauren, this campaign was led by creatives of color, HBCU alumni, which ensured historical and emotional accuracy. And with the Oak Bluffs campaign, it was location specific. Oak Bluffs just wasn't the theme, it was the actual backdrop shot for the campaign. This is where we saw all of the visual shot with the models and the real residents of Oak Bluffs, and every garment shown actually felt like it was embedded with a memory, the rich history of the community in Oak Bluffs, and the stories in which they were able to tell through the documentary. Now, throughout the campaign and the collection itself, we saw a lot of design elements that we're familiar with. We saw things like varsity jackets, sailing knits, and woven belts echoing summer leisure from Black Americana. And not only did they just shoot a beautiful campaign, which is going to be splashed across all of the different billboards and magazines and the YouTube ads, but we actually got an accompanying documentary which dove even further into the rich history that is Oak Bluffs. And with the documentary, they didn't just do their research and share the information, they actually sat down with the longtime residents of Oak Bluffs, the keepers of these beautiful and important stories to American history. And this documentary spoke to intergenerational stories, belonging, and legacy. And American Eagle, on the other hand, took a little bit of a different approach here with their creative strategy. Theirs was much more mind game than it was campaign. Now, when it comes to the American Eagle campaign, they decided to opt for Gen Z rising star Sydney Sweeney. She was able to bring with her Americana appeal, viral resonance, and again, Sydney Sweeney is no stranger to controversy. With this, American Eagle wanted a celebrity who had both commercial power and meme potential, and they got what they bargained for. Now, with this whole jeans wordplay, it's ambiguous enough to not really mean anything, but it's bold enough to spark controversy, to spark conversation, and that is exactly what they wanted us to do, and guys, I think a lot of us played into it. And American Eagle leaned into the virality of it all through the use of high traffic area billboards. We have the big 3D one that's kind of creepy. We also have augmented reality filters for like things like Snapchat, TikTok. There was AI try-on for the jeans, and we also had Instagrammable teaser posters. And furthermore, there's a new pair of Sydney jeans available at American Eagle right now. Their strategy was to blur the line between ad and social media content, which was designed to be screenshotted, stitched, and debated, and it's worked in a big way. Now, both of these campaigns represented American brands, and they couldn't be more polar opposites when it comes to the tone and messaging of their campaigns. Now, with the Ralph Lauren campaign, it's spoken softly. The brand message isn't shouted. It's shown through history, visuals, and personal stories. Words like legacy, belonging, and heritage appear throughout the campaign. There's no clickbait with this campaign, only reverence. And with this collection, we received beautiful, timeless wardrobe staples like crew necks, wide leg trousers, which all suggest enduring American style through a black lens. Now, with the American Eagle campaign, their messaging played with shock value, and it walked a tightrope between flirtation and controversy. Now, this campaign on the surface level, it's cheeky, it's fun, but it also opens itself to deeper interpretation, especially with the genetic undertones of the Great Jeans line. In addition to the Great Jeans lines, we also had Sydney Sweeney's posing, which was sprawled, topless, barefoot, and relied heavily on physicality. Now, this kind of imagery aligns heavily with American Eagle's attempt to rebrand as bold, sexy, and non-conforming. But did it achieve that? With two very different campaigns comes two very different public and critical responses. When it comes to the Ralph Lauren campaign, it was applauded by both fashion critics and cultural commentators for highlighting often overlooked Black coastal heritage. And I think it was smart that with this collection to not just drop a beautifully done campaign, but to also drop an accompanying documentary. A lot of people had emotional reactions to the documentary's tone of pride and nostalgia. It was so beautifully done. And because of this successful campaign, many have applauded Ralph Lauren for investing in cultural archiving through fashion. Conversely, the critics came down swiftly on American Eagle and their Great Jeans campaign. They accused them of using white beauty standards and eugenics adjacent messaging. And because of the mixed messaging through the American Eagle campaign, multiple think pieces emerged within days dissecting the implications of tying Great Jeans to a white blonde celebrity. Others argued it was an overreach to make such connections, seeing it as a playful campaign blown out of proportion. And I think the majority of us were just reminded of another controversial campaign from 1980, Calvin Klein jeans featuring Brooke Shields, who filmed the very suggestive commercials at the young age of only 14. In addition to everything swirling around American Eagle, they refused to pull the campaign. They leaned into it, which signaled either bold confidence or tone-deaf defiance, depending on your perspective. Now, when it comes to these campaigns, both brands had different objectives and different brand risks that could have been an outcome of their campaigns. With the Ralph Lauren campaign, the objective was to cement its commitment to authentic American storytelling beyond just the elite prep that we're used to seeing when it comes to Ralph Lauren. The brand has done this before with its HBCU capsule just a couple of years ago, so Oak Bluffs is an evolution, not just a one-off. And because of the respectful nature in which Ralph Lauren approached this campaign in this collection, the risk is minimal. It's well executed, community-backed, and consistent with Ralph Lauren's brand values. Now, the objective for American Eagle is very different than what Ralph Lauren was looking to do. This brand was looking to revamp for a younger generation. They're looking to trade safe teen styles for edgier storytelling. And because of the strategies and the execution of their ad campaign, it's very clear that this is an attempt to revamp a dying brand that has lost its cultural relevancy, especially for younger generations. And because of the haphazard way in which they approach the Great Jeans campaign and the, as I said before, eugenics adjacent messaging, this was a misfire for Gen Z. A lot of Gen Z looks for socially conscious marketing, and American Eagle failed to provide that in this campaign. And I think because of this, long-term, the brand may just continue to suffer. So we've talked about the brand risk and the brand strategies, but what about the visual and message analysis? When it comes to Ralph Lauren, this campaign featured visual richness. We had floral backdrops, porches, knit textures, and heritage fonts. Fashion cues like braided leather belts, varsity emblems, and buttoned-up collar lines convey respectability and warmth. The models, they're posed in a naturalistic way, which convey confidence, joy, and community, which is so essential to the Oak Bluffs lifestyle. And as we said before, the American Eagle campaign relied on minimal set design, harsh lighting, and Sydney Sweeney's physicality above all. And because of the lack of set pieces aside from the Mustang, I believe, this just amplifies Sydney Sweeney's centerpiece as the object of desire in this campaign. The wordplay tagline, when juxtaposed with bare skin and suggestive poses, creates a jarring tonal mismatch for many viewers. We've looked at these two campaigns, and these are just two campaigns from two brands in a large vacuum of fashion brands, fashion labels, and other ad campaigns. So what does this mean for fashion moving forward? Firstly, Ralph Lauren proves that brands can engage in cultural preservation through intentional fashion. And American Eagle's misstep, it's a warning about the dangers of virality-first strategies, especially in identity-charged environments. And in 2025, fashion is increasingly expected to be both politically and culturally literate. And one brand nailed it, the other brand, huge misstep, huge miss. And most importantly, brands need to learn that the public now acts as the final editorial voice. Commentary, critique, cancellation, and amplification happen instantly in the modern age of social media. So in all, two campaigns, both aiming for relevance, but only one lands with grace. One campaign tells a story worth remembering. The other sparked a conversation that we didn't ask for. In 2025, fashion's future isn't about who wears it, but why. So let's talk in the comments which brand moved the culture forward and which one lost the plot. Subscribe for more content like this, and I will see you guys in the next one.